Hey guys, so if you're a subscriber, you've been watching my channel for a while, you saw that I dyed my G3 wheels, and then I dyed my first set of Zealot wheels, and then I dyed the Cloud wheels. I did the Cloud wheels actually about a month ago. I just forgot to upload it. So in this next video, you'll see what I did to dye the Cloud wheels, and I'll explain a couple things that are different on the Cloud wheel versus the regular PU wheels. Okay. Also in this video, I'm including when I got when I was transferring things over to the new composite deck. So this happened after I did my G3 and Zealot review, but before I made my trip to Savannah. Okay, thanks. All right, first thing you need to do before you dye your wheels, obviously, is remove them. And since we're also going to change the deck and put the composite deck on here, we're going to dye the wheels at the same time. Just take advantage of everything. So bottom left, there is my best friend in the world, Leo. You've seen him in my other videos. He rides with me all the time. He hasn't ridden with me lately because it's been too cold. The bottom right, that's Princess Nala. And the brown and white one that just went under there is Cookie Monster. There she is again. She is 5 months old. Both Nala and Cookie are Maltipoos, and Leo is a Shih Tzu, if you were wondering. Alright, now that they're there inspecting, we just pull the wheels off. Pretty self-explanatory. Use your T-tool, pull them off, rotate the wheel with the belt. As you pull and turn at the same time, the belt will just come off nice and easy, nothing will get damaged. The most important part of this is, don't lose your spacers and washers. When you're done with the back, flip around through the front. Alright, we're going to use RIT dye, more synthetic dye. I've tried other stuff, but synthetic dye is what works the best. If you want to know exactly step by step how to do it, water temperature, all that stuff, watch my first video I did with the G3 and actually the first video with the Zealot as well, and you can see step by step how I did it. But pretty simple, hot water, dump the dye in, put your wheels in. Alright, so you saw me just pour the liquid in slow motion. Yeah, because I got skill like that. I can pour in slow motion. I'm just kidding. So all I'm doing here is just taking the grime off the wheels. I already removed the bearings before this. I left the bearings with the board. And this is just me getting all the grease and debris off the wheels. Actually, it's mostly just like sand and dirt from the road. And just want to start with a clean set of wheels. It doesn't matter that they're wet because you're just going to dump them in this bucket anyways, and they're going to take on the color of the dye. One of the cool things I really like about the synthetic dye is it only sticks to the wheels. It does not stick to the plastic hubs or anything else. So if you didn't take your bearings out, you wouldn't have to worry about this dye sticking to it. The only thing you'd have to worry about is your bearings rusting, because most bearings are made out of steel and steel rusts. But you're going to see what happens with cloud wheels here when I dip them in. Of course, I'm putting on gloves because this dye will stick to your hands. It'll turn your hands whatever color dye you have. In my case, it's pink, so it will turn your hands pink. So here goes the first one, and then here goes the next one, and you already see the problem that you have with cloud wheels. Cloud wheels float. They don't sink like the regular solid urethane wheels. So I'm gonna have to come up with a way to get them to stay down. So my solution to keep cloud wheels down, because you can see obviously that they float, is to go grab 2 heavy spanner wrenches that you use for adjusting motorcycle rear shock. These will hold them down in the water and dye, and the color will take, and the dye won't stick to the wrenches. After 10 minutes, your cloud wheels look like this. You can leave them longer if you want, but after 10 minutes, they usually take the color. The color will change a little bit as they dry. I'm just taking them out of here and rinsing them off, but you can see they look kind of reddish, but actually when they do dry fully, they have more of a reddish violet color. All right, this is where you're gonna start taking your trucks apart. You can see I already removed the wheels earlier so I can dye them. So it's a Allen's head on the top, and ironically I tried all my metric ones and they didn't work. I had to use the tool from Backfire, which makes me think they're either like a half, like a 4.5 or 3.5 or something like that, or that they're a standard, not metric. In any case, it didn't matter. I just used what Backfire sent me, and I used the T-handle from Backfire, and they came right off. Bottom bolts are 10 millimeters, I think. And but I used the tools that Backfire supplied me, and everything came off very easily. Just don't lose any hardware, and take your time. This is not rocket science. You're just removing bolts. And there you go, the truck is off. You flip the board around and do the other side. Alright, now on the back side, that you get the rear truck off, take the motors and just flip them over. At this point, I'm going to just have the motor flipped over, and then I'm going to remove the ESC. I'm going to show you why I had to do it this way in a minute. I guess I could have disconnected the motors right there, but I didn't want to. I wanted to keep them intact with the ESC because I thought it would be an easier transfer over to the new composite deck. But it turned out that it was not as easy as I thought. And I'll show you that here in just a second. I'm just being extra cautious because I don't want to break any of the tabs that hold, or the guides that hold the motor cables down between the truck and the deck. Okay, here I am taking out all the hardware from the ESC, and my expectation when I was doing this was I'm going to take off all these bolts, I'm going to flip the ESC over, and then I'm going to unplug it just like I've done with the G3. So almost done here. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to show you something. If any of you have a Zealot, you already know what's about to happen. So I flip it over and surprise, you cannot disconnect the cables. Ha, that was unexpected. So now that we know we can't disconnect the cables from there, we're going to go ahead and start working on, just take the battery off and disconnect it on the battery end, and then we'll come back to the ESC in a minute. Okay, get the last screws out of the ESC enclosure here. Now that I got them all out, I can pop off the cover on the bottom side. And you see there's a little white sticker that says turns pink if wet. Mine was still white, so that's good. You know the water sealing properties are good. Now with the enclosure cover off, I can finally disconnect the ESC. And there you go, voila. Let me clarify. I can disconnect the ESC from the deck. It's still connected to the motors, but that was intentional. I wanted to keep the motors and the ESC connected when I did this because I didn't think I was going to have to open the ESC enclosure in order to disconnect it from the battery. So now that's off. Here's the composite deck, and we're gonna start transferring things over. Okay, so here I've got the new composite deck on my lap and the original Zealot deck in front of me. and we're transferring things over. What I'm doing right now is a little grommet I had to transfer over, but we're going to explain some things after I'm done. But I didn't want to stop the workflow to stop and explain things, so we'll do that here at the end. But again, this is not super complicated, but watch the video to the end if you haven't done this, because there is one thing in particular that you need to do or need to know before you can transfer this easily, so you don't run into my issue. But I'm going to explain that here in just a second after we finish transferring things over. First of all, thank you so much if you're still watching the video to this point, because I know some of the stuff can get kind of boring. So what I have been doing, flipping the ESC over back and forth, is trying to figure out where the wires need to be and how long they need to be for everything to reach. And I'll have a much better explanation of that here shortly, and I'll show it to you and I'll point it out. But that's what's taken so long and shouldn't have taken this long. Okay. Keep watching. I promise you we're almost at the end. I want to show you something. See these wires here? On this deck, these wires are longer. So these wires were actually inside the ESC with this water guard exactly where it is, with this inside. If I tuck these wires inside this ESC, how short it is. It doesn't reach. And I couldn't mount the ESC the right way and have enough battery cable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this watertight grommet from where it is on the original Zealot board to this end of it. This is supposed to be watertight anyways, so I don't think it's going to make a big deal. Plus, when I flip it over, this is going to sit inside of this space right here, and this edge right here is going to sit flush against this gasket. So it should still be watertight anyways. So I'm not too concerned with that. But yeah, I think the quality control escapes, I would call them, at Backfire. These wires on the new composite deck are shorter than the wires on the original composite deck. Someone needs to address that, or GoPro stopped recording for some reason, or they need to include an extension. Also, one thing that was a pain in the butt was transferring this little grommet. I had to take this grommet off and able to disconnect the power cable from the ESC that was inside, and I had to take this cover off. I think if you order one of these composite decks, as much as they cost, this grommet should already come included, so you wouldn't have to deal with transferring it. Yeah, you still have to open this up to disconnect this, but at least then you wouldn't have to transfer this super tight grommet that's, I mean, I know it's tight on purpose so it's watertight, I get that, but it's extra work that I don't think you should be doing when you buy something new. All right, back to work. There you go. New Zealot with the guide wheels, composite board. Battery is on UPS, on the way to the East Coast. Old Zealot with the battery on it. That's going to be my donor G3 board. I'm going to put the G3 ESC and trucks on here and continue to use this deck. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, I think those wheels turned out nice. Wish they were a little bit more pinkish than reddish, but I think they turned out nice. They go really well with the Zealot deck. I really like what Backfire did here, where you can see the composite underneath it. You see the wood, and you can really see the fiberglass. So, good job, Backfire.
All right. Any last words, Leo?